I'm just rambling. Hey guys, it's Alex and welcome back to Where Alex Reads. So as promised, I'm going to be uploading a little bit more regularly now, and I wanted to do a video about all of the series that I have started and have not finished. When I was looking through my shelves the other day, I realized that I have a lot of book series that I've read the first or second books and then I just haven't read any more. And I think part of the problem is that there are always new series that are coming out that I really want to read, or someone mentions a series, so I pick up those books and then I just don't come back to it. And that's kind of a problem for me because if I go too long without reading the next book in a series, I am not going to remember what happened in the first book, and then I end up having to reread some of them, as you will see when I go through my list. So I think I have 9, maybe 11, somewhere around there, books that I own, and own like multiple books in the series that I haven't finished. I'm just gonna jump right in. They're not in any order, I just kind of stack them up over here. So let's get started. And one more thing is that I am going to, over the next few months, really try to pick up some more books so I can finish some of these series and get them off my TBR. And there's some other series in here that I'm not going to be moving on with, and I'll kind of tell you why. So the first book series I need to finish is The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chiani. Oh, I don't know if I'm saying that right, so I apologize, but yes, it's a School for Good and Evil series. I read the first book last month, and so this is a good example of series that I've started when I have a ton of other book series that I still need to finish. I really enjoyed it, so this is what I am going to be continuing on with. It follows the story of two girls who essentially get chosen to go to these schools. One's a school for good, one's the school for evil, and they are kind of switch places. So Sophie, who has been working her entire life to be this good person and to go out of her way and do things for others, gets sent to the school for evil. And then Agatha, who is kind of a loner and does her own thing, ends up getting sent to the school for good. So it's about their story, and yes, this book is on my TBR this month, and I'm hoping to read the third one next month, and I believe there's only 3 books in this series, so then I will be finished. The second one, and this one's also on my TBR for the month, I have finished it. It is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I just bought the second book for this series, and I don't know exactly when I'm going to get to it. Hopefully within the next couple months. It's a very light, like, romance young adult series, so I'm hoping I will get to that within the next couple months or so, especially with it being spring and summer. I'm usually in the mood for this kind of book. Yeah, so this one I'll be reading soon. I'm gonna continue on with this series as well. The next series that I still need to finish is this one. This is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. I don't know what the series is called, but I know it's a series, and I have no idea how many books are in it. I read this 4 at least 4 years ago, I think. It was a while ago. So I honestly don't even remember anything about this book. I love Libba Bray, and I remember I did enjoy this book and wanted to go on with the series. I own the second book, but I don't know when I'm going to get to this one. It's not at the top of my list. I wasn't completely in love with it. And again, I know it's about a girl, and it takes place in like the 1800s, maybe early 1900s. That's all I remember. So someday maybe I will get to this one, but not anytime soon. It's just going to continue to sit on my shelf because this is definitely a book that I'm going to have to reread before I continue on. And then we have a big one, A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. I read the first book in college, I believe, and it took me a month to get through because I was doing so many other things. This was a very dense book. I didn't like it enough to continue on. When I first bought this book, I thought I was really going to enjoy it because I do like fantasy. So I bought the first and second, I have the second somewhere on my shelf over here, but I probably won't be reading this anytime soon. Again, I'm gonna have to reread this. I've watched some of the show. My wife really likes the show and she watches it all the time, but I can't get into it. I don't watch a lot of TV to begin with, and I've watched the first couple episodes, and maybe I know everyone's obsessed with Game of Thrones, but I can't. I don't know what it is. It's just not for me. So this one, if I do decide to continue with the series, it's not going to be for a long time. Maybe when I'm in my 30s sometime, I don't know, but not anytime soon. For now, this one will just continue to sit on my shelf. When I do get around to it, it's gonna be another reread. Yay! So next up we have Lev Grossman's The Magicians. This is another one that I read a very long time ago. I think maybe 6 years. I read this when it first came out, whenever that was. And at the time there was a lot of hype around this book being an adult version of Harry Potter, which I can see why people say that, but at the same time it was a very different book. I really actually like this book. I think a lot of people were not impressed, but I think that's because they were comparing it to the Harry Potter series. This is completely different in my opinion, and I enjoyed it. I have not read the second one. I did pick up the second one recently. I think I got it at a thrift store or somewhere super cheap. So I picked it up. This is another one I'm gonna have to reread because I don't remember a lot about it. This is probably like one of the books that I've read like the farthest amount of time ago, longest time ago. Yeah. So I don't remember much, but I do remember enjoying it, and I've heard the series gets better for this one as it goes. So I plan on picking this one up down the road and actually finishing this one hopefully sometime soon. I would say if not this year, then most likely next year. The next book is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and this is a series that I have just started last month. I did enjoy this book. I think I gave it 3 or 4 stars on Goodreads. It's definitely a series I'm going to continue on with because I own the next 2 books. I didn't like love it, but again, I'm trying to be more aware when I start a series to actually continue on with the books that are out and finish those. So there's 3 books out right now, I think, and I think a 4th one's coming out either this year or next year. There's definitely more books coming. It is a fantasy novel. It's kind of urban fantasy. Yeah, I would say urban, but there's like some elements of high fantasy in here too. It's a decent mix, but it follows the main character who is clairvoyant, and she's a dream walker, so she can go into other people's dreamscapes and have an effect on them that way. And in the city where, you know, any type of clairvoyancy is frowned upon and it's considered a criminal act, she is then captured and taken to the city of Oxford, where these creatures, almost like extraterrestrial life, it turns out that they are working with the government to kind of control the country and control Earth, basically. And so she's captured by them and trained by them. It's about her adventures with that and trying to escape, and the relationships are formed, and it's a neat series, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm hoping to get to the second book in this series this month. So we'll see how that goes. Next book, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is another one that I do have on my TBR for this month, and I'm really enjoying it, so I will be continuing on with this one. It's a sci-fi fantasy. I'm almost done with the second book. I think in my TBR I was kind of like saying I was on the fence and having a hard time with fantasy, but I've kind of gotten to a point in the book where I like just need to know what happens. So I should be reading other things this weekend, but I think I'm going to try to finish the second one. But yeah, I'm enjoying this. Once I'm done with the second one, I'm definitely going to pick up a copy of the third book, and I think there's a fourth one that's out now. I think it just recently came out, maybe beginning of this year. So I'm gonna pick that up and finish this one. Yay! So that'll be another series down, hopefully soon. And then we have The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I am not typically a huge fan of retellings. So this series is all about different retellings, but it follows some of the same characters. I've only read the first two, so I've read Cinder and Scarlet, and then I think the third book is Cress, which I did recently buy because I want to continue on with this one. I think there's a fourth book. Let me know down below if I'm wrong on that or if I'm right, because I really don't know. I know there's like a smaller standalone called Stars Above because I picked up a copy of that for super cheap on Book Outlets a few months ago. Like I just needed like a filler book with my order to like hit a certain amount for free shipping, so I threw that in there. I've enjoyed this. I don't know why I haven't read Cress yet. I've just kind of been hanging on to it because I know I'm gonna fly through that, but I do need to read it soon because I'm gonna start to forget everything that happened in the first two books if I don't pick it up. So that'll be on one of my TBRs, hopefully sometime in the near future. Next up, it's another series by Libba Bray. It's the Diviners series, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to reread this one, even though I loved this book when I read it. So there's 3 books out so far. The third book just recently came out, I think around Christmas time, because that's when I got it. But I think it's been 2 years since I've even read the second book in the series. So I need to reread it. And I enjoyed it so much that I really don't mind rereading this book at all. So this book follows the main character who has like magical powers, but they're not, I wouldn't say they're like super strong magic, like she's not waving a wand or doing anything crazy. But it takes place in the 1920s in New York City. It is an urban fantasy, and I think the thing I really enjoyed about this series is the writing is phenomenal. Libba Bray's writing in this is just so good, and it's so easy to read, and it keeps you so entertained. And a lot of people say, well, not much happens, which I guess is kind of true. Like, it is a slower paced novel, but I think her writing more than makes up for that. At least in my opinion, it does. So don't hate me for this one. I know a lot of people really love this series, but I have had such a hard time getting into it. I've only read the first book, so I guess I haven't given it a fair shot yet, and maybe I just need to continue on and I'll enjoy it more. But it is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know. I couldn't get into this. Maybe it was too high fantasy for me. I really enjoy more urban fantasy. This follows the main character. She's an assassin. I think there's some love stuff. I read it a couple years ago. I don't really remember. Yeah, I'm so torn if I'm going to continue on with this one. I don't even own the second book in this series yet, but I need to reread this first one if I'm going to continue with it. And I actually, this is bad, I don't know why I did this, but I own the last 2 books that came out, so the 2 most recent ones, and I don't own the others in the middle. I think there's like 5 or 6 out so far. I picked them up at a Book Outlet box sale that I went to. So Book Outlet has their store in Canada, so I went up to Canada for the day with one of my friends, and they do their box sale once a year where you pay like $35, and that's Canadian, so I think American it was like $27, and they give you a giant cardboard box, and you go into the warehouse and you can fit as many books as you want into the box, pay your money, and you leave. So I had room in my box when I was going through, and I saw those 2 books there, and I was still kind of like, I think I might reread this series and get back into it, because I know a lot of people really enjoy this one. So I picked them up because I had room. So I own those. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Let me know down below if you enjoy this series, or if I should just DNF it and I don't know, get rid of those books. I don't know. We'll see. And I think I'm on the last one. So, the last book series that I have not finished and will not be finishing is Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. I hated this book. I will not read the rest of the series. I'm still going to give Raven Boys a shot. I haven't read that yet, but I know that is a lot of people's favorite series of all time, even more so than Harry Potter. So I own that first book, and I'm going to read that eventually. But I hated this book so much that I don't know. I need to get rid of it. I own the entire series because I got it in a box set, and it's gotta go. I can't. It's about this girl, and she has this wolf outside of her house, and she falls in love with it and doesn't even know that it's a werewolf. She just thinks, at the point that she's obsessed with it and falling in love with it, she thinks it's a wolf. And it was just really freaking weird, in my opinion, to see this girl falling in love with an animal, and I was just totally creeped out, and I don't know. It was just some cheesy love story. Maybe if I was in middle school, I would have enjoyed this. I probably would have. It's just not good, not good. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, so I'm gonna put it down. I'm done. I don't know why I saved that book for last, because it just gets me, I just hate that book. I'm very passionate about my hate for that book, and I don't know why. So anyways, I'm going to get rid of Shiver. It's going to be great. I will give Raven Boys a shot eventually. I'm planning on doing another video of all the series that I intend to start that I haven't started yet, because there's a lot of them, and there's quite a few that I actually own the books to already, and they're just gonna sit until I can get some of these other series done and off my list. So that is all of the books that I have for you. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. If there's any of these series that I said I'm not going to finish or was unsure about that you really think I should continue on with because it gets so much better, let me know and I'll consider giving it a shot. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. Have a great night, guys.